And we're down to about verse 20, chapter 3. Before we enter into our study this evening, we want to begin with a word of prayer. Ask Brother Larry to bring the mind.
Heavenly Father, this evening we approach your throne, looking upon you as the great creator and one who has loved us so much that you spared your Son that he may die for us. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the blessings of this day. We are in need of rain once again, Heavenly Father, and we look to you as the great provider for all good things, that as you see our needs, you would bring the rains to us. We're mindful, Heavenly Father, of Sister Carol Barnes and the severe afflictions that she encounters from day to day. We pray that you'll bless her with better health. Pray for Harriet and others who need our prayers of help. Heavenly Father, there are ones among us who are traveling. We ask for their safe return. We pray that you'll be with Brother Billy as he teaches from Samuel today, that the things we learn will help us to make better decisions in our lives. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Yeah. Well, let's begin by taking a look at the question book on the first few chapters of 2 Samuel, the lesson 11. And let's see. Let's start with question 9 and see how we can do on identifying. Who is Joab? As far as identifying the characters we're talking about in the book. Zeruiah? Sure. That's the sister of David, and that's one of her sons. And what position did he have? He's David's nephew. What did Joab do? Well, he is a servant, but he's a general. He's a military leader that way in David's army. And then Abishai. Who is he?
One thing he did was try to kill David with, or try to kill Saul with David's spear.
Right. He is the brother of Joab. So he's also a son of Zeruiah, the sister of David. And he's also a general. He's going to be one of the head men in David's army also. So he is. And then Azael. Who is Azael? Okay, he was chasing. And how's he related to Joab and Abishai? He's their brother. So they're all three brothers of one another. They're all three nephews of David. Their mother is Zeruiah. They're all and that's why there's such a grudge and why there's going to be so many problems between Abner and Joab, because that's his little brother. He got killed in the war. So Azael, those first three are brothers, and they're all nephews of David. Then Ishbosheth, who's he? That's Saul's son. That's reigning over the tribes of Israel in the north. And then who's Abner? Okay, he's the general of the northern nation of Israel. David's ruling in Judah in the south, so the kingdom is divided at this particular time. In question 10 says, what important event transpired at the pool of Gibeon, and what was its outcome?
Where 12 each from David's whole army took place, and all 24 were killed.
Okay, that's where they had the contest. The two armies were drawn up there, and 12 men from each side, and all 24 of them killed each other. And then the battle followed that. So it's a terrible event. Shows how sad it is when the brethren are divided like they were at this time. Nobody wins on that kind of thing. It says, what important person did Abner kill in 2:23? Asahel. He's Joab's younger brother, David's nephew. Says, what was the outcome of the civil war that they had? And two kings were fighting against each other. Saul's army became weaker and David became stronger. I think it was 360 or something. I think that's right. Saul's army were killed, and only 20 of David's men were killed. Then it says to list the sons. I think we'll skip that one. Number 14 says, what did Abner do to provoke Ishbosheth's criticism? Why did Ishbosheth get upset with Abner? That's in 3:6-8. Somebody.
Saul vacated, so to speak, concubine.
Took Saul's concubine, and that's sort of a claim to the throne, which is what caused the rift between the two. What did Abner resolve to do as a result of the criticism? So question 14 or 15. It said he'd give the kingdom to David. And then 16 it says, who had the power in Israel, Abner or Ishbosheth? Abner seems to be in charge. I mean, he's the general, but he's the power behind the throne if he could turn the kingdom over. What condition did David require before being willing to receive the kingdom of Israel when Abner talked to him? What did he say he had to do first? Bring Michal, the daughter of King Saul that he had married. Says, what political ramifications might there be in the condition being met? What would that help politically if he brought Michal to David?
Well, it was complicated because she was married to another principal in the area prior to.
So it would be
more unrest.
Right, it would make things right as far as who she was supposed to be married to, but that gave David a claim over the kingdom of Saul that he was married to his daughter. Says, what reason did Abner give for bringing all Israel under David? It's 3:17-18. What do you think the outcome would be? It helps to do these questions, say when you got an answer book in class. So you might want to work on that. This book is helpful. It costs a lot of money, so we ought to use it. Right? That helps us to learn what's in here and keep it. They said that it would save them from the Philistines. How did David receive Abner when he came in 3:20? With a feast. Gave him a great feast, treated him as an honorable man, and they entered into those negotiations. So there in 20 and 21, it says, then Abner and the 20 men with him came to David at Hebron. And David made a feast for Abner and the men who were with him. And Abner said to David, let me arise and go and gather all Israel to my lord the king, that he may make a covenant with you, or that they may make a covenant with you, and that you may be king over all that your soul desires. So David had sent Abner away, and he went in peace. So everything seems well at that point, but Joab was out of town. He has this grudge because his brother was killed in the battle. by Abner, and so we're told that he returns to town right after Abner had been dismissed and left. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from a raid and brought much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. And when Joab and all the army that was with him arrived, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he has sent him away, and he has gone in peace. So they informed Joab about this meeting that he didn't know about, and going to be quite upset by what David has done. His brother has been killed by Abner in battle, and what does the Bible teach as far as blood that you shed in war? If you kill somebody in war, are you guilty of a crime of shedding innocent blood or whatever? It doesn't apply anymore. Murder is when you kill somebody and it's not during time of war. During time of war, there's a distinction made. But Joab's not making it. He's holding a grudge. He wants to kill Abner because he killed his brother in the battle. And so he goes in and argues against David. And you see what boldness this nephew and the general has towards David. It shows something about the power that David has and how much power Joab has. Then Joab came to the king and said, What have you done? Behold, Abner came to you. Why then have you sent him away, and he is already gone? You know Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive you and to learn of your going out and your coming in and to find out all that you are doing. That's awful bold speech to give to the king, right? But so it shows Abner, Joab's pretty powerful, isn't he? He's his nephew, but he's also a general. He has a lot of influence in the tribe of Judah, that he can come in and talk to the king that way. So it shows a little later, David's going to say he's too difficult for me to deal with. You know, the sons of Zeruiah, they're very powerful. So even if you're a king, and you might in theory think you're supposed to be absolute king, are you really absolute? Not, doesn't seem so. Ishbosheth wasn't. Abner was the one that had more power. And here David's the king, but it sounds like Joab's got a lot of power. So just because you're the king doesn't mean you don't have to be involved in politics and that you can just do everything you want because you're the king. David could. And that's the way it is a lot of times, not just in a republic like we have, but in any kind of government. There's different powers that you have to worry about. You oftentimes hear about it over in the Kremlin or whatever, that they always worry about what's the Politburo going to think if Khrushchev does this, or they ended up kicking Khrushchev out, right? So just because you're the leader doesn't mean you've got all the power. So you can kind of see here, he doesn't agree with David letting him go. I guess he feels like, well, he killed your nephew and my brother, and you should have done something about it, right? He's just deceiving you. He's an evil character. And you were foolish to let him come in. We're not told what exactly David said to him, but we're told what Joab goes out and does right away. When Joab came out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back to the well of Sirah. But David did not know it. And that's a key thing. David does not have anything to do with what Joab does. David's completely innocent of this murder that's going to happen. And David is trying to make that clear as possible to all the people of Israel that he's trying to be a ruler over, all the people. That he didn't have anything to do with what Joab does here. And so when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into the middle of the gate to speak with him privately there. And there he struck him in the belly so that he died on account of the blood of Azael, his brother. So this is an evil murder that takes place. Abishai is somehow associated with this, even though we don't know the details of what he had to do with killing him. But he's involved in it too, because David's going to mention him later. He's being involved in the shedding of this blood. So here we got a peace treaty all worked out. Abner's going to bring everybody to David. It's all going to be good. And now Joab blows it up here by killing this man. Some people think he's afraid Abner might be become a general too. He might be, if he's been in charge of the army of Saul, David might put him over the army of the kingdom or whatever. But we don't know. We know for sure what he says here, that it was on account of him killing his brother. And he was killed in war. He tried to ward off Azael. We remember that story. And yet he wouldn't stop pursuing Abner, and he ended up killing him. So then, in verses 26 through 30, you have this account about what happened after the murder and what David tries to do. It says, when Joab came out from, let's see, I guess we read those verses. Okay, verse 28. It says, and afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are innocent before the Lord forever of the blood of Abner the son of Ner. May it fall on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and may there not fail from the house of Joab one who has a discharge, or one who is a leper, or who takes hold of the distaff, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, killed Abner because he had put their brother Azael to death in the battle at Gibeon. So somehow Abishai is involved in this too, but we don't know in what way. He may have been involved with sending the messengers or setting the thing up where Joab was able to kill him. David pronounces a curse upon Joab's house. It says, may he have these different forms of problems in their house because they've shed innocent blood and committed this murder. Whether it's a discharge like gonorrhea or some other kind of sexual discharge that a person might have, or be a leper, or take hold of the distaff, or it could just be a stick like a cripple or a lame person would have to lean on, and or fall by the sword or lack bread. So a curse is pronounced by David. He shows he certainly doesn't in any way approve of this. He puts it out publicly that he is not supporting this. And he's not responsible for what happened to Abner. And then there's a funeral that's held, and David is going to walk behind the bier. The bier is where you put the body, that platform you place the body on. And at a funeral in the east, when they're carrying the body out, David goes behind it and is mourning and leading the mourning. It says, then David said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, tear your clothes and gird on sackcloth and lament for Abner. And King David walked behind the bier, and thus they buried Abner in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And David chanted a lament for Abner and said, should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in fetters. As one falls before the wicked, you have fallen. So he makes a whole public display out of mourning over this general of Israel. He's trying to bring all those tribes over that Abner was kind of the head of, and show that he's not responsible for this, that he recognized Abner was a powerful man and an important man in Saul's army and in Israel, and that he didn't deserve to die in the way that he did. He said he died like a fool or a criminal would die, but he was not a criminal or a fool. He wasn't executed after a lawful trial or something where you bind the person to be executed. He was somebody that was killed in this secret, deceptive way, caught by surprise. And all the people wept again over him. Then all the people came to persuade David to eat bread while it was still day. But David vowed, saying, may God do so to me and more also, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun goes down. So all of this news gets out to all the elders of Israel that David wouldn't even eat bread. He was so upset over the death of Abner. Showed his great respect for this man. Now all of the people took note of it, and it pleased them just as everything the king did pleased all the people. So all the people of all Israel understood that day that it had not been the will of the king to put Abner the son of Ner to death, Then the king said to the servants, "Do you not know that a prince and a great man has fallen this day in Israel? I am weak today, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too difficult for me. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil." So David gets the political news out there of showing how much he admired him. And it's, of course, going to help him to accomplish his purpose in bringing all of the tribes of Israel over to him to be their king. But he confesses here he's too weak to deal with Joab and Abishai. And they might say, well, they should have been put to death for murdering this man. Just because they should be put to death, or somebody should be punished by the government, do they always get punished? Or some people, I mean, we've got, I think, somebody running for president that's too big to do it, they get off, right? They don't get punished. They can do so. A little person does it, they throw them in jail. Somebody like this, David can't deal with him. He says, I'm too weak to deal with it. The Lord's going to have to pay him back. And later on, when Joab becomes king, he kills, or Solomon becomes king, he puts Joab to death. He sides with one of the other sons of David to be king. He even goes and hangs on the horns of the altar at the temple, but they drag him off and put him to death anyway. So it takes 40 years for him to get, or maybe 33 years before he gets his punishment. But he is going to pay for this crime later on. Let's see then. The king in Gilead is slain. So we've still got Abishai, even though Abner's not alive anymore to support him, is still the king over Israel, but we're read about how he comes to an end. The death of Abner certainly discouraged him because he didn't have any power. Abner was the power. So it says, now when Ishbosheth, Saul's son, heard that Abner had died in Hebron, he lost courage, and all Israel was disturbed. So when the strong man is gone, Ishbosheth's just sort of a figurehead. So everybody's troubled about what's going to happen now. What kind of civil war is going to break out now that the strong man is gone, and everybody in the country is disturbed. And then we're told about the death of Ishbosheth and how his life comes to an end. Baana and Rechab put him to death. They're commanders or some kind of military officers. It says Saul's son had two men who were commanders of bands. The name of the one was Baana, and the name of the other was Rechab. And the sons of Rimmon of Beerothites, the Beerothites of the sons of Benjamin, for Beeroth is also considered part of Benjamin. The Beerothites, or Beerothoth, those are those people of Gibeon. Remember back when we were studying about Joshua, when he came into the land and they conquered the land, and they weren't supposed to spare any of the Canaanites, but the Gibeonites came and they pretended like they had traveled from a long way, and they put on clothes that were wore out, and their bread was moldy, and their bags for their water looked all wore out. And they said, oh, we've come from a long distance, and made a covenant with Joshua and the men. They didn't inquire of God about these people. Then they found out they actually lived in the land. They'd already sworn by God they wouldn't hurt them. These Beerothites are the same people. So they live there at Gibeon and in that area, some of them, and these men they became part of the tribe of Benjamin. They're kind of associated with the tribe of Benjamin. So they're Canaanites, but they're kind of been absorbed into the country. And these two men are the ones that are going to bring about the death of the king. It says, and the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and here on the map you can see where these places are at. We have Beeroth, a little bit, about 9 miles north of Jerusalem. And this place that the Merodathites flee to is Gittaim, over just north of the land of the Philistines. There's an account later that you hear about Saul persecuting these Gibeonites. Like he tried to purge them out of the country. And so they flee over here, and now a couple of men that are relatives of those people are in the army, and they're the ones that are going to assassinate his son. So it could be some payback going on there for something that's happened during the reign of Saul. So the Beerothites, they went over and got out of Saul's territory and were living over in this other city. Then we're introduced to Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth is the only son of Jonathan that's left. Remember David made that covenant with Jonathan that he'd take care of Jonathan's descendants, and Jonathan promised to take care of David's descendants, you know, and they'd look after one another and they loved each other. Well, here's the only person David can show that kindness to. We're introduced to him here, and then we'll learn some more about him later. But he's not somebody that could become king because he's a cripple. It says, now Jonathan's son, Saul's son, had a son crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the report of Saul and Jonathan came at Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it happened that in her hurry to flee, he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. So you can just imagine the panic. The Philistines are coming. The army's defeated. Saul and Jonathan are dead. And the nurse is trying to get away with the one child that's left. And she stumbles or something running, or he's trying to run. Anyway, he fell and hurt his feet. And he's lame from that time. He never heals right. And you imagine they don't have doctors like we do that can set bones and stuff. So he becomes lame for the rest of his life. And David's going to be able to show some kindness to him. But you can see why, because of that physical defect that he has now, he wasn't able to become the king. And he's sort of introduced before we meet him again later on. So verses 5 through 8 here tells about then these men coming to kill Ishbosheth. You notice that name, Mephibosheth, it got both Seth on the end of that too, right? And that meant shame. And it was a name that replaced the name Baal. So it could be Baal or Baal. Might have been his actual name, but then it got changed to this Boseth on the end. That means one who contends against Baal or fights against Baal. And that might be a name Jonathan certainly would have given his son, somebody that he was opposed to Baal, and he names his son, he who is against Baal, or that which is shameful. So here the son of Rimmon, the Beerothite, and Rechab and Abner departed and came to the house of Ishbosheth in the heat of the day, while he was taking his midday rest, and they came in the middle of the house as if to give wheat, and they struck him in the belly, and Rechab and Baanah, his brother, escaped. So they come in and kill this man while he's laying, taking a siesta at noon, taking a nap in his house, in his bed. Maybe David should be the king, but this man hasn't done anything evil or wrong. He's been placed in that position by the elders of Israel to be the king. And they just come in and murder an innocent man in his bed. And we're told that they mutilate his body. Now when they came into the house, as he was lying in his bed, in the bedroom, they struck him and killed him and beheaded him. And they took his head and traveled as far as the Arabah all night. The Arabah is the valley of the Jordan, and the valley with that big rift in the earth that runs all the way down to the Gulf of Aqaba. There's a big depression in the earth, fault in the earth there. That's below sea level. And that Arabah, whether it's the north or the south, they call it So they flee down that valley of the Jordan, and they're going to be able to cross over and come to where David is at with the head of Ishbosheth, and they seem to think they're going to get a reward for killing the king of Israel and bringing his head to David, because now David could be the king of everybody. Well, we've already seen how David reacts to this kind of thing before, but we see it again. It says, then they brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. Thus the Lord has given my lord the king vengeance this day on Saul and his descendants. So they think we're carrying out God's providence that we killed this man. God said he'd give you the kingdom, and we're the hand of God in this, that we brought you the head. David doesn't see it that way. David can do it without them murdering somebody, right? So he's not going to take them as servants of God that have done some great service to help fulfill God's word. In verse 9, it says, David answered Rechab and Baanah, his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, as the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life from all distress, when one told me, saying, behold, Saul is dead, and thought he was bringing good news, I seized him and killed him in Ziklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. So David said, this has happened before. The men that first found Jonathan and Saul were dead and brought me the crown. I killed him because of his murder. He said he murdered him. He says, how much more when wicked men have killed a righteous man in his own house, on his bed, shall I now require his blood from your hand and destroy you from the earth? Shall I not do that, he says? That's what a murderer deserves, somebody that commits murder. Their blood should be required of them. That goes back to the days of Noah. If a man sheds a man's blood, his blood should be shed. It's in the law of Moses. Paul recognized it in the New Testament. It's the right of the government. And the thing that was right is to carry out capital punishment. He says that's what you deserve. So these young men are told to execute him. Then David commanded the young men, and they killed them and cut off their hands and feet and hung them up beside the pool of Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the grave of Abner at Hebron. So they bodies are hung up. What do you think that would picture for everybody? So, is it a curse to be hung? Jesus Christ became a curse for us, hanging on the cross, so we could go free from the curse of sin. So they're put a curse on them, hanging there up there as an example to everybody. Don't murder people. So that's certainly a message that needs to get out in our society. That this is what happens if you murder somebody. And especially one that's ruling like Ishbosheth was doing.
Dylan,
Yes.
why do you think it mentions that they cut off their hands and feet? Or why do you think?
I think that's a humiliation, a mutilation.
I mean, the hands, they use their hands. I was thinking they use their hands to killing. And kind of going back to his son, or I was going to call his son, I'm sorry, Jonathan's son, and he was like, would be maybe to show what they had, they didn't use it wisely. He wasn't able to use his feet.
Well, I don't know for sure. They were feet swift to shed innocent blood, and they were hands filled with blood. I don't know if that's part of it, or it was certainly a way to show these are criminals and disgusting people, and this is what happens to people that do such things. And so they got a reward that they deserved, which was death for what they did. Recompense. So David becomes now king over all Israel. All the tribes of Israel decide to come to David now. Should have done this right away. I mean, this is what should have happened 7.5 years before, but eventually they come around. Who's going to protect them from the Philistines now? No Abner. There's no king anymore. David is a strong man that can help them. And you find out from 1 Chronicles that there's thousands of soldiers that have come over to David. If you look at 1 Chronicles, it'll tell how many from each tribe. He had like 200,000 soldiers had come over to his side. So he's the man with all of the troops and all the power. And if you're an Israelite, you don't want to live under the Philistines, you better come to David. So there was a lot of pressure for them to get in line here that has been brought about. It says, then all the tribes of Israel came to David in Hebron and said, behold, we are your bone and your flesh. Isn't that what Adam said about Eve? You're bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. We're one, right? We're the same. And that's what they say to David. We're all Israelites. We're all one with your family. Previously, when Saul was king over us, you were the one who led Israel out and in. And the Lord said to you, you shall shepherd my people Israel, and you will be ruler over Israel. So again, there's been a lot of word out there about David and who David is and who he should be. He should be the king. That's who Samuel said should be the king. So they've been resisting the will of God by not having him as king up to now. But now they get in line. So it's you that should be the ruler. And then they make a covenant in Hebron and make him king. Now you can read the parallel account in 1 Chronicles 12, 23 through 40. And in that place is where it tells where all the different tribes, their soldiers had come over to David. To where he had this huge, you total them all up, there's about 200,000 of them come over to David. So he's got, a lot of people have been realizing over this 7.5 years, David is the man. Even though he hasn't been anointed king yet, he's the one we ought to be serving. So all of the elders of Israel came at Hebron, and King David made a covenant with them before the Lord at Hebron. And then they anointed David king over Israel. And David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years. At Hebron, he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. And at Jerusalem, he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. So David has been a king of Judah for 7.5 years, and now at 37.5, he's king over everything. So he has come to power. He's still going to have to deal with the Philistines, right? He's going to have to defeat them and all of these other enemies they've got, and David's going to whip them all. I mean, God is with him. He doesn't lose any battles. He's going to make the kingdom powerful by the time it's turned over to Solomon. Solomon gets a kingdom that's from the river of Egypt all the way to the river Euphrates. David's in charge. So he becomes a mighty, mighty king. But he's first got to get a capital city for himself now over the tribes of Israel, and it's going to be a city that they never took from the Philistine, or never took from the Amorites. The city of Jerusalem is sitting right there in the middle of the country. Perfect strategic location. Like they picked in the 13 colonies, they picked out a spot right in the middle of Washington, D.C. to make the capital of all the 13 colonies. Well, they're going to, or the new country, when we form the new country. That's what happens here. He's going to conquer some territory that doesn't belong to any tribe. It belongs to the Jebusites. And he goes up to conquer this stronghold. Now the king and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, and they said to David, you shall not come in here, but the blind and the lame shall turn you away, thinking David cannot enter here. So Jerusalem has always been a fortress city. And it's built on, there's a big valley on either side of it, and it's not easy to conquer. It even took the Romans a long time before they could conquer. So they think there's no way, David, you're going to take this city. And if we were just lame and blind, we could keep this city away from you. But they don't know who they're dealing with, I guess. So David's going to take the city. Nevertheless, David captured the stronghold of Zion. That is the city of David. So you see these synonyms for the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is, of course, the city of peace. Salem was peace. Remember, the high priest at Jerusalem back in the days of Abraham was Melchizedek, prince of right, or the king of righteousness. So he was the king of righteousness and the king of peace. And he's a type of Jesus. Because Jesus is both king of peace and king of righteousness. Just like he is a priest after the order of Melchizedek. King in Zion. So Zion and Jerusalem, those are terms used interchangeably. The city of David, because David conquers it, it's called the city of David. And so we have those terms that are used. The stronghold there is called Zion. And later Zion is used for even where the temple's at. The temple is a little north that's there right now. David's going to buy the land from one of the Jebusites, and he'll have a place that he can put the temple, and then Solomon will build a temple there on the north side of Jerusalem. So Joab, I mean, David's upset with Joab, right? He had all those curses for Joab, and he was angry with him, but he couldn't punish him. He's too strong. So how in the world did he get to be the general-in-chief of the army? Well, right here is how it happens. He's the one that actually conquers the city, is Joab and his men. So David said on that day, whoever would strike the Jebusites, let him reach the lame and the blind, who are hated by David's soul, and through the water tunnel. Therefore, they said, the blind or the lame shall not come into the house. So Joab leads these men through some kind of water access they had to the city. There was a water supply that was found 100 years ago or something in Jerusalem, like a cave. They think maybe Joab went up and got into the city. And that may be what it's talking about, or someplace we don't know about. But through this gutter, this water supply, he's able to enter in with his soldiers and take the city by surprise. And he promised he could be the ruler, right, or the general. So now Joab's back in the place he wants to be, back in charge, because he's the daring one with his men that are able to conquer the city. So David's going to have to deal with Joab all the way through his reign. So David lived in the stronghold and called the city the city of David. And David built around from the Millo and inward. And David became greater and greater, for the Lord God of hosts was with him. So here you can see what, this is Jerusalem. We think of like in later times, all of this extra area. But in the beginning, the fortress is this part right here, Zion and the city of David. You can see it pictured on this map. There's a valley of the Kidron that Jesus goes across to the Mount of Olives. And then the valley of Hinnom is on the other side, which, we get the word hell from, or Gehenna, where they burned the trash on the other side of there. So two big valleys on either side. And you have the fortress citadel here in the middle. And the Millo is thought to be maybe the terraces that were built to hold up the sides of the hill that the city was built on, or the fortress was built on. We read later on about different kings. I think Solomon and Hezekiah rebuilding the Millo and making it strong. It was like filled in with dirt and made the city strong. So David built his city from there outward, and the city's going to expand. Oval, up on the top there on the map, is where the temple will be built. And a lot of the buildings that Solomon built. And so the city's going to expand to the north. David's going to buy that area. David wrote a psalm about his city. There in Jerusalem, you can see maybe a picture of the mountains there in the valley of Hinnom and the valley of the Kidron. See how strong position, the city of Jerusalem had, that fort that's there. Great is the Lord, greatly to be praised in the city of our God, his holy mountain. Beautiful in elevation, the joy of the whole land is Mount Zion in the far north, the city of the great King. God in her palaces has made himself known as a stronghold. Walk about Zion and go around her, count her towers, consider her ramparts, go through her palaces, that you may tell it to the next generation. So, beautiful cities built there by David on that place. Yes?
You may have covered this, I didn't mention it. Why were they not taking David out of the land of the line?
It's a very difficult thing, even in the Hebrew text, exactly. There's some argument about it, but it seems to have been, if you're lame and you're blind, you can't take this. Even the lame and the blind could keep you out. And so he says, you go up and take even the lame and the blind. He calls them the same thing. We're going to go up and take it. They said even the lame and the blind get protected, but you take it anyway. I think that's the point. All right, let's stop there. Rinse, are you? Yeah.
Good evening. We'll take our psalm book and turn to 361. That's our psalm organization for this time. I don't have any announcements, but any announcements. John mentioned about the class. So this Billy and Adam, Nathan, and Brad are still out for this wrong way back somewhere. You can. Tonight, I want to talk about not our song books, but it's based around. There's a lot of songs based around Isaiah. But this one is very, very powerful. The word a lot. So let's turn to Isaiah 4:39. First, Isaiah 4:39. Surely he has heard our sorrows. He has stricken, smitten by God and afflicted. But he was wounded, he was bruised for our iniquity. Chastisement was upon him. And by his stripes, all we have turned everyone. The Lord has laid iniquity. Those he was afflicted. Yet he was slaughtered. And the sheep before his silence. So he opened. He was taken from judgment and generation, for he was cut off from the land of the living, for the transgressions of my people. Made his grave, but with the rich, because he had done no violence, nor was any of his seed. So you keep that to go through the words of the song. Before we do this, I hope you realize when you think of trying to say he made, that you take on a personal note. Don't do that. You will never reach your limit. Before God is your life. No. But and it does apply to you as well. If you don't take a thought that just for you, one person, he died for all these. The song go, his heart was broken, my was sin. The cross he carried bore my burden. So him said, and for his life for mine. How could it ever be? He would die, God to save a wretch. What have I in his life for mine? So I'll have to do vocabulary words and some words deep. As a or contempt. Reprobate criminal is sin. Second verse, this story brought me to fill my soul. Made me loyalty. If you don't take what you read in that passage, you're going to say, oh, that makes sense. Read the scriptures more. Let us open them. And the verse, the chorus is the same. There's one final. He's been rejected, stripped of his garments, and oppressed. For that reason, loved and accepted in righteousness. What a was that no yet in our sin very very bad and stripped of it. But you know, he did that for us sacrificially. We are accepted as God's for eternity if we so choose to live that. My invitation is not very long, but I wanted to share this. I thought it was a very good thought, very powerful thought, and I hope something that you think of. Even when you sing a song in the songbook, that you apply to yourself. Because that's what it's really good for. When you sing a song, it's like, no, sing a song, let me listen. Hope the word is soaked in to your heart, not just bounce off. You have to have an open heart to do it. If you don't have an open heart, the words, God's words, the words of Christ will bounce off too. It's called a hardened heart. And sometimes hardened hearts are very hard to penetrate. And it takes a life-altering thing sometimes to rock into your core. And it's like, oh yeah, I need to listen. But don't let it take that much to make you wise up. If there's any here who need the prayers of church, like I talked about before in sermon recently, like, don't be fooled thinking that everybody that comes to church, has no problem in life.